I think they're going. This is Bob Martin, the RCSubGuy. Welcome, everyone. It is 10:59 on Saturday, June the 2nd, 2018, and this is like the fourth YouTube Live stream that I've done. It's going over well. I think there's usually around like 40 of you guys that chime in during the course of the broadcast, so that's really cool that we have a chance to connect like this. So I'm looking forward to this one. Now this, just going to prep you, this is going to be a short, kind of truncated version. Usually I go about 45 minutes or sometimes an hour. I have only got half an hour today because I got an appointment at noon that I've got to get to. Hello, Japan. Hello, Martin from the UK. It is great to see you. While we wait for people to get all signed in, why don't we take a look at some of the stuff that I got on the bench over here. Why don't we start here? This is British X-Craft 1/12 scale. Some of you have seen the pictures and write-ups that I've done on this boat. I'm getting it prepped for the new owner. It's going to get shipped out as soon as I get back from my business trip. It's a beautiful model and it works really well. It's got a lot of thrust and it's powered by an older D&E watertight cylinder. I'm just making sure that that's all good. You can see it's wet, had it in the pool a little bit earlier on. Out behind that, you can see an OTW 150th scale upholder. This is ready for trimming. Most of the paint is done. I just got a little bit of detail to finish up. I want to get some diesel, soot behind the exhaust ports there. But for the most part, that is almost ready to go. Should have that off to the new owner by the end of the month as well. That's the power unit for the X-Craft. And look at this thing. This is a 48th scale skipjack from Dsrv. Customer sent this to me to basically refit it completely. This is an interesting one. I've never seen this dive system before myself. I think this is maybe an R&R out of the UK. Some of you guys from that neck of the woods might be able to confirm that. But low pressure pump style ballast system, nice big baffled tank, geared drive. It's pretty slick. I'm looking forward to getting this thing in the water. That's getting close here as well. And once I wrap up all of these sort of peripheral projects that seem to stack up on me, I'll be getting back to that big 30th scale. This is like impossible to do with one hand. It's too big. We're just going to rest it right there and hope for the best. Type 21 sitting in the back. So, man, we got a lot of stuff going on. We'll have pictures, video. Newsletter should be coming out here in the next few days. I will be working on that while I travel. Use the best use of my time when I wake up nice and early in the mornings there. Martin asked, is this still a hobby or a business? No, completely a hobby. There's no money to be made in this. I have a newsletter. Yeah, Martin, I've got a newsletter that comes out once a month if I'm cognizant about making sure I hit my timelines. You can subscribe on my website, nautilusdrydocks.com. Little window will pop up, or you can hit the subscribe. You get on my mailing list, get all the updates and everything. So if you want to make sure that you catch everything, then make sure you sign up. Ukraine, nice to see you as well. Thanks for coming. And thanks, obviously, everyone, for all of your comments and kind words about the projects. Now's the time, if you got questions about the RC submarine hobby, technology and that kind of stuff, now's the time to do it. We've got the next 30 minutes to talk that over. Let's see, what can we show you in here? Oh, here's something that we can talk about for this boat. This is batteries. I've talked about them before, but everybody likes to use the lithium polymer batteries. Now, when you've got a big boat like this, though, and you've got lots of room, I still like the old school sealed lead acid batteries, and the reason for that is that size and weight is not a problem because you actually need ballast anyway. So if you can keep that weight down low, the sealed lead acid batteries like being in the wet, provided you seal the terminals, and you can see I've got a waterproof connector on there. So if you've got a big boat, both the X-Craft and the Upholder, and actually the Skipjack, will be running sealed lead acid batteries. Here's something that was hiding in the back that I forgot about, so nice and small. This is a 77 scale Disney Nautilus submarine. This is my favorite submarine of all time. I'm sure you guys know, but this particular owner got like 95% of the way done, sent it to me, and he wants to get out of the hobby. Unfortunately, he just said he does not have the time or opportunity to run the boat and have such an expensive thing sitting there unused. So if this is something you'd be interested in, hit me up, Bob at RC-sub.com. We'll see what we can put together for you. I did some of the preliminary work on this boat. It's got a 2-inch sub-driver, watertight cylinder, lithium polymer batteries. It's got a magnetic mission switch, so to turn the model on and off, you just swipe the magnet over that area there and it turns it on and off. And the way pitch control is attained is actually the entire rear assembly. The prop tilts up and down for directed vectored thrust up and down. So it's a slick unit. I built dozens of these for RC, and they work really, really well. So again, if that's something that would interest you, it's going to be a turnkey package. You can have it as is and kind of finish it up yourself, or we could potentially talk about me finishing it up as a ready to run boat for you. Comes with a VEX 6-channel radio, the instructions, and a bunch of miscellaneous odds and ends and everything that goes with the boat. Randy. My 3-inch sub driver, there's a twin manifold with 2 brass outlets and a half. I don't know if I understand your question, Randy. You're going to have to be more specific. I don't know if that's a statement or if that is a question. A question about the car. This is a Jaguar F-Type. Technically it's our car, but in realistic terms is my wife's car. Sometimes I'm allowed to drive it. That's the R version with the 550 horsepower version. I'm a car guy. I love cars. On my old site, RC-sub.com, I got a section in there with all my cars and car projects. I built a replica Lamborghini Countach off of a Fiero frame. That's something that was lots of fun. There was a question earlier about the Dsrv Kit. I'm finishing that up. I got, as you can tell, so much on my plate and so little time to getting it worked on. I couldn't tell you right now because I've got to get final printing costs. It'll probably be $500 or $600 realistically. It's a lot of printing time that goes into it, and I'm going to have a lot of details. All of the dry transfers are going to be included. The linkages for the rear rudder, all of that stuff are going to be done. So it'll be a slick little kit. I'll have information videos on that, obviously, when it comes out. What frequencies of transmitters work best? The only one, well, I shouldn't say that. It depends on where you're at. North America, the only frequency you're allowed to utilize that will work for our application is 75 megahertz. Everybody loves these gigahertz radios, and they don't work. Unfortunately, I just got the text from Randy showing me the assembly there. They don't work. Gigahertz will not penetrate water to any degree that would be useful to us. So you could operate it with the periscope above the water, so you submerge except for the tip of your periscope, keep the antenna tip out. But 75 megahertz is what you want. In Europe, I believe 40 megahertz is what you guys operate on. So that would be what you would be after in terms of frequency for your radio. 3D printing printing, slicing, and design software. I use a little bit of everything for just quick and dirty things like bulkheads and that kind of stuff. I use Google SketchUp. This is a free program everybody can learn, and it's super fast and easy. Something that I'm in the process right now becoming more proficient with and utilize a lot more is Fusion 360 by Autodesk. That's got a lot more features and allow me to design a lot more complex parts and also optimize them for 3D printing. I live in Naples, Florida, which is on the Gulf Coast side, straight west of Miami. It's the first time it's been kind of sunny out in a really long time. We've had all that rain from that tropical storm. So hopefully today will be nice. I'm going to be going on vacation next week and then a work trip right after that. So we're heading up to North Carolina. Hopefully we'll get some good weather up there as well. Virginia class. Yes, sir. I shouldn't say that. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is out of the Czech Republic, and you can buy that on my website, nautilusdrydocs.com. That's a hybrid kit, just like my Dsrv Kit is going to be, part 3D printed parts. It's got a plastic tube. It's a really, really well-engineered kit. I've got one in stock here right now, so if this is something that you'd be interested in, by all means, grab it. I can ship it out as soon as I get back from my trip. Price is actually really good, and it's a nice size too. I believe it's 72nd scale, so it's a big boat. It'll have a lot of presence there. Comes with brass photo etch and everything, so it's going to be a beautiful kit. What happened to 32nd Parallel? Oh my gosh, man, you're a couple of decades out of date. They're out of business and have been, I'm going to say, since like the late 90s, maybe. I've had a few of their boats. I think I had a Gato and one of their Typhoon kits. For what they were back then, they were fine. They were typically pretty inaccurate, but they were cheap. And they were actually great to get people into the hobby, which is something that's really important and that we need more of. Like I've said before to you guys, this hobby is not cheap to get into. And the only way to bring prices down is to increase volumes. So, if I'm selling 3 or 4 kits a month right now, it'd be a lot different if I was selling 10 or 20. Then you can start talking about, savings in terms of volume and manufacturing practices and all of that stuff. And hey, I could turn it into a business. I wouldn't have to work at my day job anymore. That would be great. So, hey, you guys want to band together and start buying about 10 or 20 kits from me a month, that would be perfect. Make that happen for me. That's kind of a neat setting in the back with all those submarines there. I don't know if I showed this to you before. This is the drive section for the Type 21 that I'm working on. These are supplied by the customer. They're massive. A great source for motors to drive your boats is the auto surplus stores. And if you look for blower motors from the heater in your vehicle, they are great. They draw very little current. They're exceptionally efficient, and they're already suppressed for noise, because obviously you do not want your radio to start crackling as soon as you turn your heater on. So typically you can find stuff like this for $3 or $4 in your auto surplus store if you want to try and check that out. But this is going to be a big 5-inch diameter cylinder, air pump ballast system, and it'll actually have twin tanks. This is going to be in the front, a front watertight cylinder with an output for bow thrusters as well. Tugboats, yeah, for sure. Like I said, for cheap. We could probably walk over to my nasty storage room. I can show you what I got going on there. So I'm pretty stoked. I got a new 3D printer. I got a Dremel 3D45. For the price, it's a great printer. Lots of different materials that can be utilized in it. I'm printing some scale torpedoes. You can see this is 32nd scale, and these are 48th scale weapons. I'm working on a kit that will allow you to have electric torpedoes on a timer. So I know everybody's going to get really excited, and the first question is, when can I have them? When can I have them? How much are they going to be? I can't tell you that. I'm not done. That's like number 55 on my project list. I'm sorry. But they're coming, and they have to be done for that Type 21, so it can't be too far in the future. Here is another print I've got going on in my Z18. This is a Nautilus, the Viewmaster version, and we're getting that printed up right now. That's going to be about a 30-inch boat when that's all completed. I got lots of junk in here. I apologize. Like I said, this is all operated out of my home. Got some Mike class 1/120th scale kits if anybody wants them. They're a really good price. They're very cheap. I think about $200. There's an example of one of our Alpha kits in 1/72nd scale. Some blueback kits. Leftover. These are some 3D printed parts for the Sequest. So that kit is out of production now, but I still got the files, and I'm printing off a few copies here and there as time allows me to. Got my big 96 scale Russian Oscar hiding up there, and that's not done yet. I need to retrofit it and get it up. James Bond Lotus, that'll be a kit that I'll be releasing in conjunction with the Loyalhana dockyards here, hopefully. Big 35th scale Disney Nautilus kit. My collection of old radios that I keep here for my own use and projects. So there's a little insight into the dry docks. What was my first sub I built? If you go to RC-sub.com, look for Disney Nautilus scratch built. And so my first one was 32nd scale, which turned out to be 35th scale. Disney Nautilus, I scratch built that, everything from like a wooden master, put all the rivets on it and everything, learned how to do rubber molds, laid up molds, got that boat done, built all the internals from scratch. It took 3 years. 3 years to get it done, but you know, fortunately now I think I could do things a little bit faster, but that was a learning experience for sure. FPV, dude, you're out of luck. Ain't gonna happen. FPV always utilizes high frequency radio frequencies. Typically 900 is like the lowest that I've seen. As soon as you get lower than that, you get really nasty video. What did I say earlier on? Need low frequency. 75 megahertz is what's going to penetrate water. So FPV live is not going to work. Now, if you are going to just want high definition FPV video from on board that you can download later, yeah, for sure, do that. That is cool. Lots of different versions or opportunity for that. HeroCam, you can bolt right on it. The other thing that is something that I've used in the past are these little bullet cams. They're like $30 on Amazon, and I've just put magnets on the bottoms, magnets on the top of the hull, and it just snaps right on the top. So these take and store video internally, and then you just download it back. And the cool thing about that, like I said, no interference in terms of radio, and it's pure high definition video. So I would recommend something like that to capture video from the platform of your submarine. In my gallery, Type 23 chain and gear assembly, I think Micro Mark was where I got those chains and pulleys. I don't even remember where I put all that stuff. I've got a little hidey hole with all of my beveled gears and chains and drive belts and all of that stuff. But check out Micro Mark. I'm pretty sure that's where it was. I think the chain was maybe like 3 or 4 millimeters thick. And you just, you kind of snap it off and then clip it back together in whatever length you want. How do you mount the foam float shut off on the top of the watertight cylinder? Permit. That's the problem. The permit has a nasty, skinny sail. It isn't going to work, unfortunately. So what you're going to need to do is grab the gas backup system and go with a gas boat. So what that basically is as I showed you before, right here, it's this unit, but it's smaller. And it just bolts in. All the holes are already in your cylinder. Takes about 5 minutes to install. Just push it in, tighten it down, put the little valve in place, and now you've got a gas system. So yeah, that permit, it's a boat, but those sails are so skinny that you just can't fit the snorkel assembly in there, unfortunately. So that's what you're going to have to do. It's $75 for the gas backup system, and you just put it in there, and it's all self-contained, works pretty good. Stacy, do you still have the 11-foot Nautilus? Yep, upstairs in storage. That was, those were styrene shells taken off of a boat that Scott Brodeen built for a customer years and years and years ago. So yeah, 11-foot long Disney Nautilus. That's like my retirement project there. That's going to be, it would be ridiculous to make that RC, but display model with a full interior, now we're talking. That would be something that I would love to do. Let me just make sure I haven't forgotten anything here. FPV. I have never built a Darnell boat. Martin asked me about that. I'm sorry. And the NR1, FX Models, I believe, did a version of that one, but it's small, not RC. I think I've heard of somebody scratch building the NR1. Haven't seen it myself. You know, honestly, modern nuclear boats bore me. I'm sorry, it's just me. You know, a cigar tube with a cap on top. It's just not exciting to me. I mean, you take a look at something like, you know, the Nautilus and all of the rivets and panels and details and breathers and windows. There's so much to see, and it's the same thing with the World War II boats. You know, those fleet boats had really, really interesting shapes. So that's what I'm more in. That's not to say that these aren't fun to operate, and certainly from a performance perspective, the modern boats are going to have the older ones hand down every single time. But you got to love it, and if that kind of thing turns your crank, then by all means, that's what you're after. Okay, that little part I texted you, so that's a manifold, Randy, that goes on the top of the watertight cylinder. I don't have any out here that I can actually show you, and what he's talking about is this one right here. Is that it, Randy? That sits on top of the watertight cylinder. You can see it's got a hole on one side. So your hoses connect to these ports, and that goes down into the ballast tank, and this other one goes up to the snorkel. No. Was there a different one? Oh, this one. Here we go. That the one? So Randy, probably the best thing to do, I'll hook up with you later. I'll show you a diagram or something. That'll be the easiest thing. It's too hard to explain without me digging out a new cylinder and trying to show you where that goes, but we'll get her done. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it in like 1 minute. So we got time for last minute questions. Like I said before, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to make sure and a couple days before remind you guys about the live videos so that you can make sure and catch up. Newsletters let you know everything that I got going on. It'll typically have links to the YouTube videos that I put out and that kind of thing. So make sure you subscribe if you're interested. If not, then certainly don't worry about it. Tiny red scram buttons for the nukes. Don't know that I'm familiar with a scram button. You might need to send a picture of that so that I can try and source that for you. Uh-huh. Well, you certainly got me because I have no idea what that is. How much did my son make with his USB project? You know, not enough. 14-year-olds and work are like oil and water. I don't know how many of you guys have a teenager, but you know, it's like pulling teeth to get him to sit down. He was great there for the first little while, but as soon as it turned into work, kind of went to the wayside. But the project was really cool, and for you guys that weren't aware, he was making little 3D printed USB sticks. I think I've got them in storage there a little bit. There was some nuke boats, there was a World War II fleet boat, there was a Disney Nautilus, and then he got in some other stuff too. There was some runabouts from Star Trek and Millennium Falcon and that kind of thing. But you know, I would say he probably sold about 20 or 30, so he did okay. He did okay, and it was great to kind of show him what a business looked like there for a bit. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. I appreciate your patronage and your interest in this little niche that we call the RC submarine community. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at any time, bob@rc-sub.com. Do not forget to visit my website, nautilusdrydocks.com. And don't forget, when you go to that website, it's not just about buying stuff. I've got a blog section in there that has a lot of really great articles on trimming your boat out, selecting your boat, you know, lots of things about the hobby. So make sure you check out my blog section, the FAQ section that goes into a lot of the different technologies for ballast systems. So check it out. Again, thanks for joining me. This is Bob Martin, the RC Sub Guy. We will catch you guys all later.